Lord of Mysteries 2, Circle of Inevitability. Chapter 165, Meeting Jenna Again. Lewis exclaimed in surprise. What if Seal fails and gets done in by the poison spur mob? Baron Brignaise chuckled and replied, When has our Savoy mob ever kept all its members? On the way back to Auberge du Coq d'Or, Lumion found himself in quite a good mood. Initially, he had intended to apprehend a significant member of the poison spur mob, probing into their source of power and their affiliation with the wicked deity Madame Pualis worshipped. But now, the Savoy mob had assigned him a similar task. It aligned perfectly with his desires. This way, he not only swiftly gained detailed information about multiple targets, saving valuable time, but he could also fully utilize the Savoy mob's resources, such as weaponry, manpower, and connections. A moment ago, Lumion contemplated requesting explosives from Baron Brignaise, mulling over the possibility of setting a trap to blow up one of the leaders of the poison spur mob. In the end, he decided against it. Firstly, he felt it was too brazen and would attract unwanted attention from the police. Secondly, being a wanted criminal, he couldn't afford to be investigated. Thirdly, if he obliterated his target entirely, how could he gather any information? Of course, he could employ the summoning dance and the wall of spirituality to allow the deceased spirit to cling to him and enhance the memories that left the deepest imprints. However, this method was entirely unpredictable. Who knew if those individuals' minds would be as deranged as the previous perverts? Moreover, each summoning dance could only amplify a single memory. If luck wasn't on his side, it could take a significant amount of time to find useful information. This contradicted his intention of swiftly departing from the scene of the assassination. Initially, Lumion planned to deal with Hammer 8, but upon hearing Baron Brignaise's description, he considered Baldy Harmon as a viable candidate as well. Compared to 8, Harmon had notable weaknesses that hunters could exploit to set traps. His power granted him exceptional body resilience. On numerous occasions, he sustained only minor injuries despite being slashed with knives. Lumion recalled Aurora's words. Those skilled in swimming are prone to drowning. In Harmon's case, one could interpret it as, those adept at blocking weapons with their bodies are more susceptible to perishing by weapons. As for Lumion, he possessed Fallen Mercury, the cursed blade. Furthermore, in comparison to Hammer 8, who frequently traveled with a large entourage and resided within the poison spur mob's settlement, Baldy Harmon ventured out alone occasionally, seeking street girls and dancers. Consequently, he proved to be a simpler target for assassination. Moreover, he was closer to the core power of the poison spur mob and held more secrets. However, the conundrum arose. If Lumion were to set a trap and employ Fallen Mercury to deal with Baldy Harmon, capturing him alive and extracting information would be impossible. If Lumion could overpower Baldy Harmon after stabbing him and dragging him to a secluded corner in underground Trier, why bother stabbing him initially? If he couldn't, his only recourse would be to stab the enemy and allow him to flee. Alternatively, after his escape, Lumion could await the intervention of the Monsieur's ghost to assist in the target's demise. Whether this would implicate the target's family wasn't his concern. Hence, the pursuit of Baldy Harmon and Hammer 8 presented their respective pros and cons. Lumion was not yet able to reach a decision. He intended to contemplate his target selection after receiving more detailed information, weapons, and ammunition from Baron Brignaise the following morning. Upon entering Auberge du Coq d'Or, Lumion immediately spotted Rur and Michel, the short, gray-haired couple. They were clad in tattered, foul-smelling garments, laboriously hauling a large swollen bag made of flaxen-colored cloth up the stairs. "What's all this?" Lumion inquired curiously as he traversed the lobby. Weren't these the same elderly folks peddling counterfeit street maîtresse d'atelier photos at Soot Steam Locomotive Station? Why were they bringing back such a sizable bag? Rur ceased pulling at the cloth bag, wiping the sweat from his forehead. He forced a smile and replied, "Don't you know, Monsieur Seal? We moonlight as scavengers by night. We salvage discarded items that might still hold value." Informed by Charlie's, the couple was aware of Seal's newfound leadership role in the Savoy mob. Consequently, they saw no issue with Seal seeking answers from them since Aubert's du Coq d'Or was his turf. From their perspective, as the guardian of Aubert's du Coq d'Or, Monsieur Seal needed to stay informed about the establishment to prevent any mishaps. Juggling two occupations, one of which involves deception. It certainly reeks of all sorts of rubbish. Lumian pinched his nose and silently muttered. He pondered and asked thoughtfully, Do you hoard all this trash in your room? Rohr wore an ingratiating smile and confirmed. Indeed. We visit the waste disposal site every few days. People drop off various items there. While scavengers are filthy, without us, Trier would be overwhelmed by foul odors. Every nook and cranny would be brimming with refuse. In Trier, scavengers served as supplementary cleaners. No wonder there's a stench in the room. No wonder you perpetually reek and forego bathing. As Lumian ascended the stairs at a leisurely pace, he stole a glance at the wrinkled faces and slightly stooped postures of Rohr and Michel. He casually inquired, You're not young anymore. Why do you still toil so diligently for money? Rohr and Michel were taken aback, their smiles faltering subtly. After a brief pause, Rohr mustered a pained and helpless smile. It is precisely because we are old that we must labor so strenuously. We arrived in Trier when we were very young and took up various occupations. We had a child, but he did not survive to adulthood. The monthly wages we received merely sustained our survival. As our health began to decline and our strength waned, fear gripped us. We were uncertain of what the future held. What if we grow too old to engage in our usual work someday? What would we do? Deplete our meager savings within a few months and rely on the charitable acts of the Church and the government to eke out a meager existence until we perish from hunger? I do not wish for such a fate. Lumian was suddenly reminded of something his sister had once uttered. Intis is exceedingly harsh now. There is no protection for hard-working individuals in their twilight years. Stirred by his thoughts, Rohr continued, Thankfully, our appetites have diminished with age. We don't eat or sleep much. That leaves us with more time to earn money. We don't have to worry about anything else. We can save most of what we earn. In the coming years, we should be able to enjoy a few more good ones by relying on our savings. Truth be told, compared to most people, we're considered fortunate. None of them made it to our age. Madame Michel, standing beside him, wore a wistful expression. Once we've saved enough, we'll return to Ormer and purchase a plot of land to cultivate grapes. Even if we lack the strength in the future, we can hire assistants. We don't have extravagant expenses anyway. Ormer stood as the provincial capital of Champagne province, renowned as the foremost hub of wine production in the northern continent. Silently, Lumian nodded as he observed the elderly couple laboriously hauling the bag of trash upstairs. After a brief respite, he put on simple makeup and changed his attire. Clad in a linen shirt, brown overalls, loafers, and a dark bowler hat, he made his way straight to Salle de Gris mill. Since Hammer 8 remained one of his targets, he needed to personally observe him. It was the late hours of the night, and Salle de Gris mill buzzed with activity. Amid the pulsating music, men and women gyrated on the dance floor, releasing their frustrations. Concerned about being recognized by the poison spur mob, Lumian approached the bar and ordered a glass of rye beer before making his way to the dance floor. As he swayed to the rhythm, he surveyed his surroundings. Before long, he spotted little minx Jenna appearing on the raised wooden platform in front of him. She wore a similar outfit to the one she had donned in the afternoon, a short white blouse and a flouncy skirt, showcasing her fair chest. This time, she sported a mole on the bridge of her nose. It signified audacity. Impressive mental strength she possesses. Despite the afternoon's events, she's back at work in the evening. Lumian couldn't help but marvel. In his opinion, since Jenna was Red Boots, Franca's lover, there was no need for her to be so committed. The rhythmic drumbeats halted, and all eyes on the dance floor turned to Jenna, panting. Jenna began with a high-pitched tone. Ernest, stay away from my wife and pipe. Laughter erupted from the crowd as if a collective realization had struck them. In sync with the cheerful and bawdy singing, they swayed their bodies gently. As Jenna sang, she executed high kicks, shifting her position and winking at the audience from different angles, even performing an exaggerated split. During this display, her gaze briefly crossed paths with Lumion. She appeared momentarily stunned before returning to her normal demeanor. Once she finished her song, the intense drumbeats resumed. Jenna wasted no time resting. She leaped onto the dance floor, navigating through the sudden eruption of cheers, whistles, and men vying for proximity. She approached Lumion and shouted with a playful smile, "Handsome lion, dance!" In Intis, the lion was often used to describe alluring men due to their radiant mane, akin to the sun. Lumion sensed that Jenna had something important to share. He set aside his beer and joined her on the dance floor, engaging in a lively dance with the showy diva face to face. Just as they were about to embrace, Jenna threw herself into Lumion's arms and whispered into his ear, "You're quite the talented dancer. By the way, I've discovered the identity of that pervert. His name is Hedzi. He used to reside in room 504 at Aubert's du Coq d'Or." "Charlie's room? The occupant of room 504 who put up Susanna Mattis' portrait?" Lumion was taken aback.